demonic angel, and I have had a fun night of rituals. So I also thought I would share some of my own personal gnosis, honestly, pertaining to demons with you all. Basically, I would say that it has to do with my experiences, like as I view things on the astral plane, and then finding, philosophies like Luciferianism and Satanism and then, Christianity's influence as well. How does that all kind of go and influence each other? How does it kind of compare to, what I think? And I decided that other people might enjoy it. Maybe I'll do channeled messages, Gnosis kinds of videos as we go on. Demons. Demons, also you could refer to them as like fallen angels. They chose to come to the physical plane to experience, the gnosis of life and death. Viewing that as the most, the highest, most important thing, to be, an individual. Even though it's very painful to exist. Coming to consciousness is always painful, like Jung says. Well, it's like that as well. So it seems to me, and like I'll back up a second. So demons, they chose this first, and then man, through Eve, chose to eat from the fruit of knowledge, the life and death, the knowledge of life and death. And then, the man chose to also fall meaning, like literally not be living in the astral plane in the sky anymore, and be real in the physical plane. And so this affects demons in some kinds of ways I'd like to explain. So some of them really act animalistic. This kind of, to me, has to do with, I think that they are kind of cursed by this Christian God, even if you want to think of it like an egregore, so that as demons incarnate on the physical plane, they are having way worse cravings, and they're worse than hungry ghosts, is what I'm saying, because of this curse, basically. And so everything is so extreme to them. And they spend a lot more time in shadow form than human beings do. Shadow really tied to ideas of all that is left is just the survival instinct of like that parasite to just take in energy. And that's it. That's the main purpose. That's, a lot of that has to do with that's astral feeders and everything. That's also what demons are going through because of being cursed, because they wanted to be real. So it's a very painful, exaggerated, compared to like what humans go through, and kind of the reincarnation cycles for people. So they hang out at cemeteries a lot because they're like in this primal function trying to get energy. That, I mean, death gives off a lot of energy, but they really are. From my honest gnosis is that they're just there to kind of clean up a little bit after death. It's like they're pruning the cemetery and helping the energy kind of go where it belongs. We all kind of are afraid of the crows and the harbingers of death, but really think about, I mean, it has to have a face. Somebody has to be that. And demons in general are very attached to, like, they're very interested in people. And that's part of why they like corpses so much, is it's like, it's just really amazing to them to just even be around people, because they're very new to everything, and that in these kinds of shades I usually see them is a good way to put it. And these are the kinds of shadow kinds of demons that people usually see, and they're they're dangerous just because they're just feeders, and they don't really have that quite conscious yet, so that's like they possess people in that way, because of just that they really don't have like really even skills to avoid the temptation of such an energy source, and they so that if they're able to possess or oppress a person, it's just all about the energy, not so much as good and evil. It's just really a functional kind of a game. They also, as they evolve through having, the more exaggerated experiences than us, then they really kind of become these more sophisticated forms that we see with, like you think of the Ars Goetia and depictions of them as royalty, dukes, marquises, earls. They also develop exquisite tastes, like in literature and, technology, health, arithmetic, shape-shifting, meaning kind of like youthfulness, longevity, really being able to even think about change your personality to, either be noticed or not be noticed in a certain way. So they refine those kinds of ideas, like in the Goetia, because they typically will live for a few thousand years in this kind of way, up to a few thousand years. So, of course, there's, demons that, are in their highest form, that have been around, and they still are since before Christianity began, and they're really just, sometimes they live human lives, especially when they're really, ready to try to do something for like the group betterment, because I think that it's just kind of an inclination they have, is that they stick together, and So I do think that sometimes they are humans, and usually this could also be psychics. You could, empaths, whatever, shamans, different cultures, and they've just decided that this is this time to experience being human. Is that why some people remember past lives, is because they're technically demons, and they're just taking on these new bodies, but unlike a human, they're just keeping the same identity, so that you get the same personality over several lifetimes, rather than like a regular generational dispersal of personalities among regular people. You see a grandfather's taste for ice cream, and you see it again in the grandchild, but in a couple generations or something, that kind of that's all lost to time and conscious memory. But it's really interesting. I just think that some people really are these demons, but these demons they're gods, and they're gods. You could say fallen angels, but they chose to be here. They do love us as people, even though a lot of them do a lot of harm to people. It's just unfortunate that they have to struggle more. So when they die after living, pursuing their arts, then they kind of get reincarnated. Unlike us, they get reincarnated as these primal shadow, just energy types of feeders, and it's just because they're cursed with experiencing this really painful hunger. It's really, really. I think it is why too, when they choose to be human, that they have really intense deep feelings in usually a spiritual way. Like everything is just, it's very hard to put the mundane in a perspective without spirituality. It's has to be a central theme. So that's the way that I look at these demons, really. I mean, I treat them with respect always. I don't understand people who make deals and then they don't put out on their deals. That's not me. I definitely don't recommend that. And demons, they really like to sing, hum. They make animal noises a lot because they're very primal and things like that. So they do things like I said, that I've experienced hearing them, whistling. But yeah, so going to morgues and haunted places. You go to a place of death like that, and you think that you're gonna feel afraid or creeped out, whatever, anxious. But demons, if they affect people, they'll make them feel really hungry. That's happened to me. I was open to it because I do allow demons to experience things through me. It's very valid. So I just felt intensely hungry. I could just eat and eat and eat. And I just felt really out of it. And I sat down and I just imagined just eating like a feast, like a table laid out in front of me. And I was like really hungry for like a week. It was just crazy. It was worse than any kind of hormonal, any kind of emotional influence, really. And I think that that's how like demons can really affect people. Rather than the classic just it's going to scare you, it's really just going to use you to kind of try to satiate itself for a minute. Even with something like that, it's hungry, they're thirsty, they will, do whatever it takes to quench a little bit. That also can kind of just sometimes they'll make people like obsessed or about a certain thing just because they have a harder time controlling their passions, their emotions. They're just they kind of don't have a middle. We got that middle ground between logic and emotion that most humans have. They really don't have that. It's kind of one or the other. So they're very, very strong, and that's true no matter what. So anyway, I just think that some of the things that people think about them, it's like they're kind of scary, but they're so much more than that. They're just trying to go through the cycle, of coming to the physical plane, and so it's a little bit more of a look beyond good and evil, more like just the survival, really. They attack people, they do all these negative things for different reasons, but that's essentially my Gnosis for today, so thank you.